The foot of this sail obviously has many panels in it, so you need to sew down each one of those short edges with a zigzag stitch. We're going to continue on here. We didn't show sewing all of them, and we're going to concentrate here on the tack edge where that webbing loop has been placed. She's just using the hot knife to cut some relief notches into this assembly so that she can create a beautiful half-inch hem here, and you'll see this process as she works it all the way through. Your hardware may not be the same here. You may have a ring or a D-ring in place of a webbing loop, but the principle's just the same for those. We're going to sew it from the bottom side, obviously, and we're going to create a hem here along this edge. Now, your sewing machine may balk at this. This is a lot of fabric to sew through because the corner patch assembly has several layers. Then you also have webbing that has been placed on top of itself, and you also have this umbrella 3 layers. So your sewing machine may not be able to do this, and we recommend that you switch the sewing machine to a straight stitch if it balks at this, or you may even have to do some hand sewing with pre-waxed twine and a hand needle here. This is the Sailrite Professional 20.5-inch long arm, and it does a great job of this. But even here at the end of this assembly where we need to do a bar tack to lock our stitch in place, Deb's going to put it in reverse and do it by hand because this is a fairly thick assembly, and machines don't like going in reverse in super thick assemblies. And there we are. And here's what it looks like with a sacrificial cover. To sew the hem on the opposite side, we'll turn the sail over so we can see exactly what we're doing here. Now, when sewing this hem in place, you can baste it, or you can take a staple gun and actually staple it in place. But Deb's going to show you here, she's not going to do any of that. She's actually explains that it's pretty easy just to hold it in place and sew it and keep your hem in the right place as you sew. Here's that corner patch assembly at the tack, and it's a very heavy assembly here. And we're using the Professional long arm sewing machine, so it goes through it quite nicely. But on some sewing machines you may find it struggling here. You can do it in a straight stitch as we talked about earlier if your sewing machine balks at this. And you can see here she's creating that double hem as she sews, and she's matching it up with that tape that's already been sewn onto the sail. The Dacron tape, she's just matching up this umbrella right along that Dacron tape's edge. Alright, so this is the foot edge. We haven't even begun the leech edge yet. We'll be basting those panels or gluing those panels down the leech and doing the same process all over again.
Just adjust your seam to make your hem to come to the edge of your tape if that's where you want to land. That way you're sewing on the same line. See, as you get down here and it gets narrower, then you have less that you need to fold under. Just make sure that the edge is folded under.
Alright, you can see that in the video, so hopefully you have that all logged down in your brain and you can do that when you come to that. This is the clue assembly, and we haven't put a ring in place yet at the clue, but we're using a hot knife to cut so that it's a rounded corner here. That's all we're doing here. And then we'll concentrate on creating that double hem so it looks nice. And you'll see Deb will put a few pleats in this to make it come out nice and beautiful on this one side. As is often customary with pleats, sometimes some trimming of some fabric is necessary to take out the bulk. This edge will be sewn down as well. Alright, she has the general look that she's looking for. She'll take this over to the sewing machine and she'll sew it all down in place. You can cut out more of the bulk if you so choose, if your sewing machine balks at this. And again, a straight stitch is easier than a zigzag, even though we're doing a zigzag here. And even with a professional machine, we're going really slow. We're using the MCSCR power system, so we have real complete control and tons of power to go through this assembly. But if we were to do it quickly, we'd probably break a needle because there's a lot of fabric and a lot of bulk at this corner. Here we are working it around, and then we'll continue to sew. There we go. Now we're coming to the end here, and she does a bar tack to lock it all in place. Here's what it looks like. Looks nice. This is the clue. We'll be putting a ring in there in a later step. Now, if you already have a ring in place, then you want to do the same sort of procedure, but do it like this illustration shows. So just make cuts around your ring, leave enough fabric that you can create a 1/2 inch hem, and then sew around the ring as shown here. Alright, we're going to skip majorly ahead. We already have the leech panels in place and we have the one inner edge sewn. So now she's going to make room for this leech line that comes out. So we're going to just cut a slit in there with a hot knife. This will help to seal the edges. And then we're going to sew around this leech line when we come to it when we do that hem. The procedure for the hem is exactly the same as the one we did on the foot. So we're not going to show the whole process here, but here we are going around that leech line. You can see the slit that we just cut there previously. And you can see we're just creating that double hem all along the leech edge as we did previously with the foot. And then we'll take some webbing and we'll secure it over the spot where the leech line exits the sail. And again, it may be better to sew this webbing on by hand in lieu of doing it with the sewing machine. Alright, now we're going to concentrate on securing each one of these panels by creating a row of zigzags that go from corner to corner on each one of the panels on the foot and also on the leech. So she's just marking it with a pencil to indicate where she needs to sew to keep the stitches straight. And then she takes it over the sewing machine and sews it with a zigzag stitch following the pencil line she previously put on each one of the panels. You'll do this to the leech and also to the foot. We are almost done here. Here we are doing a bar tack at the end of each one of these. Okay, here's what the cleat looks like for the leech line. She's sewing that in with a pre-waxed twine, and the webbing has been sewn in as well with the professional sewing machine. And here's the ring that we did not have installed until now. In lieu of a ring, you may have a ring already inserted in your sail, and again, you want to do it as that illustration showed earlier, or as this illustration shows now. You can just sew around the ring and create that 1/2 inch hem above the ring. And here's a pocket that would help to protect that leech line cleat, and also a nice way to store your leech line. But if you leave the cleat exposed, then what happens is usually the twine rots in the sun. And here's the sun cover on the finished sail. Looks good. It's on the leech and the foot. You can order yours in a kit form. Just look up the information on the internet or in the Sailrite catalog. I'm Eric Grant with Sailrite. Thanks for watching.